Suns TV voice Kevin Ray joining the show today to talk Suns offseason, what he is thinking about off of that finals run, and a trip to the Bahamas that went a little differently than he expected. More perspective on Deandre Ayton. All of that coming up right away on Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm your host, Brendon Kleen. I cover the Suns in the NBA at SB Nation as well as Dime Magazine. Follow me on Twitter at Brendon Kleen14. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On PHX Suns. We're closing out the week here, a Friday edition of the show with the great Kevin Ray, Suns TV voice, longtime play-by-play man, and first-time guest on the show. I appreciate you coming on, Kevin. How has your off-season been? I hope it's been an opportunity to relax.
It has, but I'm sure, like you and anybody involved with the Suns, it's been kind of abbreviated relaxation, but for all the right reasons.
Exactly. Well, and you have, of course, your other job that will take up plenty of your time, I'm sure, coming up with the NFL stuff. But I do appreciate you fitting us in here. And I wanted to just kind of start with the finals. I'm sure, well, I mean, the real first thing I have is what it's like for you to experience the finals because you're not doing those games. Like, how different is that? And what's that like to be kind of from afar, just like us, as opposed to what you're normally doing?
Yeah, I was really kind of torn, to be honest with you, because as you know, we are able to broadcast the first round of the playoffs, but anything beyond that is all, handled by the national telecast. And while it was still fun because, the Suns were in it, and I got a chance to go to most all the games and take my kids to, several of the games. But there was also a part of it that was, frankly, excruciating because as a broadcaster, and especially as a play-by-play guy, those are the games, those are the moments that you want to be a part of. So it was, honestly, a little bittersweet. But like I say, to one of the upsides that I found was going to the games and witnessing it as a fan, because going with my kids, we sat in different locations, but getting a chance to meet a lot of the fans that on a normal game day I don't get to see because I'm working. And so it really was great and had a lot of fun and made a lot of, new friends who were longtime fans, and just nice to hear their comments about the team, about, our broadcast with EJ and our entire crew. So from that perspective, it was a lot of fun to be able to connect with people that I might not otherwise, get to see.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure it's different, but in its own way, it's kind of cool. I was feeling some of the same thing, just in terms of wanting to be around some of the fans once they were able to come back in, because I think we were kind of, like, it put into perspective, like, what are we really doing this for? I mean, I guess for you guys, it's getting it to people who wouldn't have had it otherwise while there were no fans in the building, but it just was so eerie and odd. And then for people to get back in, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to go, see what people are experiencing and be with everybody and see the arena when it's finally full after the renovations and all that stuff. So I'm glad you were able to have that experience, even though it was a little different. I'm curious, though, I've been sensing from Suns fans online and everything else that they might not be over the loss to the extent that I hoped we might be by this point. So how are you kind of sitting with it? What's sticking with you? What do you remember? What's nagging at you? How are you feeling after about a month here?
Yeah, and it's funny because I've still got friends and acquaintances that I'll bump into, and some that I maybe haven't seen in a while. And in fact, just the other night when we were on the road doing the Cowboys preseason game, and somebody brought it up, and they were like, "Oh, sorry." It's one of those, like you say, it's great because I think as you will, also attest to, this Suns team connected with people like all over the place for whatever reason. And whether it was because of, fatigue from other teams, other players that they had seen so consistently, or just how the Suns came together with Monty Williams, whatever it was. But they connected with people way beyond Arizona that I would have never imagined. And while it's great to talk about that and their kind of new affinity for the Suns, yeah, it's still painful. It's a little bit like that scab, when you've gotten as a kid, you're playing and it starts to heal up a little bit, and then you go bump it again and breaks it open. So I'm not sure it's a scab or a scar that's going to heal anytime soon. There's parts of it that you just kind of come to grips with. But, for me, I think that the one game, if you will, that just continues to gnaw at me, and my son and I talk about it usually about once a week, and it's game 4, because of just how close this team was to jumping up, 3-1. And you think, oh my goodness, I can't imagine being up 3-1 and not being able to win it. But it's why sports is so great and so electrifying and adrenalizing, but it's also one of the things that makes it, painful at times.
Yeah, it is. That game was. I told listeners who were along for the journey as that, not just that game, but it was definitely the high point of. It made it very hard to sit and be unbiased like I try to be. That game is what brought it out from me, where I was like,
right.
I wanted my wife to be out of the room. Like, I'm like, this is, I've finally gotten there. I guess I kicked the neutrality out of my head watching that game a little bit. And yeah, that one, that one. And then it's I don't know how you feel, but hearing the Chris Paul injury stuff, the Devin Booker injury stuff, it's not even so much of the is an excuse or is it not, because that's kind of boring to me. But like, it just is a continued reminder every time this news trickles out of, man, it's like it was so close, and how many little tiny things have to go wrong for things to flip like that is painful.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that stood out is one of my chief concerns coming into the playoffs, as I'm sure was yours, like many others, was the the lack of overall playoff experience that the team had collectively, and I didn't think it really revealed itself until game 5 and 6. And I felt like at that point, because of what transpired in game 4, I think the youthfulness and inexperience, the guys, and look, it's human nature. I don't care who you are, but I think they began looking at game 4 like, man, what did we do? What did we let go of? And it kind of started those wheels turning. And I felt like because of Milwaukee's previous failures, they leaned on that. And look, because of how close Milwaukee was to elimination multiple times in a playoff run. And, there is value for a team to experience in that. And, like everybody else, I was hopeful that the Suns didn't have to experience that until they had a NBA championship really tucked away. But it's the reality of the situation.
It is one of those sort of ironies of the whole situation that Milwaukee would be the team to do it to the Suns, given that Bucks fans have had the feeling that Suns fans now have a few times, right? So it's none of us are going to be caught rooting for Milwaukee to get their final goal here. But at the same time, it's usually true that you have to go through that. And I think that's why it was so shocking that it seemed like that they maybe could skip all of those steps and really bust through. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any Suns fan feel better, but at the same time, it would have been, I think the vibe that I get from fans is like, yes, that sucked. But at the same time, it would have been far more frustrating if it was a Brooklyn or, the Lakers or one of these teams that didn't feel necessarily like they earned it, who was the one to sort of knock the Suns down. But I won't make fans sit in this for too much longer. I will. We'll go on to the off season. I want to get your thoughts on how things are shaping up for next year, K-Ray. But first, a quick word from BetOnline.ag. 3 big deals for you as the NFL season and college football season kick off over at BetOnline. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. And here's what they have for you starting right away. The internet's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest $200,000 NFL survivor contest, all available at BetOnline right now. You can also, when you make your account, if you do not have one already, use the promo code LOCKEDON to get a 100% welcome bonus. They are doubling your money on that first deposit. And last but certainly not least, on the opening night of the NFL season, they have a super promo allowing you to make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Bucs and the Cowboys, which our guest today will be in the building for. If you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25. So no matter who you bet on, even if you lose, you get that refund up to $25 when you use the promo code NFL100. BetOnline giving you tons of ways to get involved with the football season. And of course, they are the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports all throughout the year. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Okay. Off season. I'm not sure how you feel. Not a big momentous set of changes. It didn't really feel like that happened in the NBA all that much, but any Suns fan would tell you backup center was huge. So getting JaVale McGee, they got a little younger with the Landry Shamet addition. I think the other big thing for me is we're going to get to see some of these young guys get a little bit more opportunity. Just during the regular season, guys will get hurt and all the rest. So what do you make? Do you feel like they're in a better situation now than maybe they were 3 weeks ago?
I think so for the most part. I think the one spot where I feel like there can still be some upgrade or improvement is, look, Torrey Craig stepped in, and what he did for this team was, incredible. And I know that, the injury to Dooley kind of helped open that door for him. And, we saw Dooley, he seemed to be kind of getting some traction right before the injury. And there are parts of their game that are very similar. But I thought Torrey Craig delivered everything that James Jones and Monty Williams needed and then some. And to me, having seen a guy like that fit in, if they can somehow find another Torrey Craig, if you will, would benefit this team, greatly. The timing with the injury to Dario Saric couldn't be worse because, and look, the Suns aren't the only team to have a player, like that who's going to be on the shelf for you might as well say for the entire season since we're going back to an original, NBA calendar. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm hopeful and confident that with the the mid-level exception still remaining, and James has been pretty adept at kind of wading in the weeds, so to speak, and finding guys when necessary. He doesn't get too caught up into deadlines and making splashy moves when everybody else is making them. So I'm confident in that regard. But I think for the most part, I'm pretty pleased. And look, just the overall one more year of physical and mental maturity and improvement from those guys who went through those NBA finals battles, all those playoff games now that those guys can lean on. And so with that being said, I feel very optimistic again about this season. But look, it is a loaded Western Conference. Yeah. So you're gonna need all the ammo you can get for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of who gets the additional opportunity because Craig and Saric, those don't seem like huge pieces, but especially over 82 games, like there's going to be an inevitable situation where somebody's going to be pressed into action. Is that Jalen Smith? Is it Abdul Nader, like you said? Nader is somebody I'm interested in. He's never really been committed to by a team, right? Like he's never had a regular season where going in, it's like, you're the backup 3. You know, no questions asked. At the same time, you can't teach size, and he's not as big as Torrey Craig, right? So, you know, it's a different type of player, but I'm excited to kind of see some of those new faces, and they're not new in terms of, you know, new Suns, but they're going to be new for playing time purposes. And obviously Landry Shamet is going to be new to everybody. And so I think I really think he'll play a lot. So I'm curious what that will look like. On the note of internal development of these guys getting better, I mean, obviously too, we're going to have this whole training camp where Chris Paul had about a month to get with it. And we saw it took about another entire month past that for them to get situated. About, you know, late January was when it really clicked. Who are you most excited to watch this upcoming regular season of this young group? I mean, aside from Devin Booker, I think he's graduated past that, but you know, the rest of this core, who intrigues you the most that you think we could really see take a step forward?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'll jump at 3 guys, and I'll say Mikal, just simply because we saw Mikal add some offensive layers to his game the last 2.5 months that, you know, a year ago this time he did not have. And that is, you know, utilizing the mid-range. And as we've seen, there is value to practicing against, watching every day and every night how successful your teammates, Devin Booker and Chris Paul, are at the mid-range. And, you know, how much confidence your coaches have and implore you to shoot that versus almost every other team in the league where they're saying, no, we don't want a 15-footer. And, you know, the Suns coaches are saying, look, in the right scenario, we love the 15-footer because if you practice it regularly, you know, you're going to be prepared to take that in the game. And we saw Mikal develop that, but still not the kind of consistency that I think that he'll get to. And then the other thing is for Mikal is just because he's going to be another year older and stronger, adding beyond the mid-range. You know, you've got the 3-point shot. Now you start to develop that mid-range, getting that strong finish to the cup. And that to me is going to help this team improve on getting to the free throw line, because that is something that, you know, they just weren't consistently good at throughout the regular season. And it was hit and miss through most of the postseason. So, I mean, when you see, and look, Giannis is Giannis, but you see the value of getting to the free throw line, you know,
even when you miss a bunch,
right?
Like he did,
right? Yeah, exactly. So him, Cam Johnson. Look, I thought Cam really stepped up big time in the minutes he was on the floor for this team offensively. And Monty has said it a number of times, and I think some of the fans finally began to see it. But Cam has become a sneaky good defender. Yeah. And maybe what you're losing with a Torrey Craig is what they kind of hope and envision Cam slowly becoming. Again, you know, just the physical maturation, you know, is going to take probably another couple of years. But Cam is an intelligent defender. So maybe between Dooley and Cam, they feel like, you know, the two of them can kind of roll up and give you what Torrey Craig did. Then I'm anxious to see Sticks. Not to interrupt, but you know, he had a terrific summer league, and I know his name got, you know, kicked around and linked to a few trade rumors, and he's you know, I'm sure quickly learned that it's a business, and it's not always a bad thing if your name is out there in trade rumors, because that means that people are, you know, liking what you're doing. So
yeah, James Jones has said flat out he's going to get an opportunity, whether that's preseason and training camp and ends there, or, you know, extends into the regular season. I think that's fully up to him. I think that they see an opportunity here for him to be a part of the regular season rotation. I'm excited as well. Preseason schedule got announced today, and it feels kind of insane that we're about 5.5 weeks away from that. But we'll close out the show with actually the original reason I wanted to bring K-Ray on here, which was a trip that he took this summer, and some of the stories as it relates to Deandre Ayton. So excited to get to that. We'll take a quick break first, so to hear from Rock Auto. When you walk into a dealership or a retail store these days for an auto part that you need, whether something breaks down on your car, you're just looking to upgrade, whatever it might be, you're going to get a raw deal. I mean, that's just the reality of it at this point. You tell them what car you have, you tell them what you're going to want to buy, and then they're thinking about how they're going to go ahead and make money off of you, whether that's, you're not buying in bulk because you don't have any need to, or you're not a professional and you're not going to get a discount that they might offer professionals. It's pretty stressful, but Rock Auto solves that problem. Not even a subscription website, let alone an account. So you don't need anything to log on. You just go in, type the car that you have, scroll down to the part that you need, click purchase, and it's at your door in days. You save time, you save money. So don't spend 20, 30, even 50% more than you might at one of these at Rock Auto by going to one of these stores, when Rock Auto is right there. If you have a phone, if you have a computer, it's that easy. Just go to rockauto.com, buy the part that you need, and that's it. I've purchased a sun visor after having mine crack off due to the Arizona sun. You've heard me tell you about that plenty of times. And they have everything. I actually had to scroll pretty considerably because it was at the bottom. It's not a very common part, and I got to see all the stuff available for my Hyundai. So I can certainly vouch for it. Go to rockauto.com right now, see all the parts available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Today's show also brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever, my favorite protein bar. 3 summer exclusives going on right now at Built Bar: strawberry, orange, and cookies and cream. Actually, I believe German chocolate is a limited time offer as well. You know the drill. No more than 180 calories, no more than 5 grams of sugar, but somehow they make these things delicious as ever. Soft and easy to chew, covered in chocolate, every single one. Might sound weird, the fruit ones are as well, but trust me when I say it is delicious. It's like a chocolate-covered strawberry. Who wouldn't like that? And you don't notice the protein. It's not chalky. It's not thick. It's not hard. It's just soft. It's easy. It tastes like a candy bar, and it gets you what you need to get through the day. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Okay, Kevin. So you took a break and traveled like we all did this summer, and found yourself in a situation where you found some Deandre Ayton fans that you weren't expecting to see. Please tell the audience what happened, because I think it's cool, but also very unique. So let us know what happened.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So following the finals, I guess it was maybe 2 weeks after the finals, my girlfriend and I went to Exuma, and we were there. And as we're coming from the airport, we had rented an Airbnb, and we're coming from the airport. And anybody who's been to Exuma knows that it's a small island, and it's not heavily commercialized like Nassau is, where the majority of people in the Bahamas are familiar with. So we're driving to the airport and going through this one little small part of the central part of town, and I look up, and there's this billboard with Deandre Ayton wearing his son's uniform, and it was promoting DA's basketball camps, which take place in Nassau, but the islands are obviously so close to one another. And because DA is, an absolute god there now in the Bahamas, so there was this billboard, and we had to stop, and so I took a picture with it. And then there's banners in a couple of other spots around town. And then we went to this little spot called Chat and Chill, which is another separate little island, and you can only get there by boat, but it has this little cantina set up. And so I had an NBA Finals shirt with me, and in this little cantina, people from all over the world, would tack up shirts, from their colleges or whatever, license plates. And so the bartender and waitress were kind enough to take a picture with me, and I signed it for them. And so they've got an NBA Finals 2021 shirt there, and they're well aware of who DA is. But
I'm sure they loved it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they were over the moon, excited about it. And and we got some pictures, and I had posted it there on Twitter and Instagram. But it just speaks to, as we've talked about, the globalization of the game. And, here's this little island area, and, the Suns are able to pluck this gem, Deandre Ayton, out of there, and excited to see, what he can do in promoting the growth of basketball, and how, young kids now in the islands can look up to Deandre and say, that's what I want to be someday. So it's really cool, and just speaks to what I was saying earlier, how, the Suns have gained all kinds of new fans across the globe for a variety of reasons. Obviously, the Bahamas are crazy, crazy in love with DA and the Suns.
I can't even imagine. It makes me what it must be like in Nassau. Like, there must be just hoopla. Like, and I remember there were pictures and sort of reports about watch parties and this and that, but man, it must be Ayton City.
Yeah, well, I know that I saw a couple of posts in a video clip when it might have been like just 4 or 5 days after the finals had wrapped up, and he and his family went back home, and they had like a small parade, for his return home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had never been to Nassau, but I can tell you how big he was there in Exuma. So yeah, Nassau would be off the charts, I'm sure.
Yeah, to your point about the growth of the game and the fans there and everything else. I don't think it gets talked about because I think he's more associated almost with the Valley and having gone to Arizona and everything. Like, people, I think we all know, but he doesn't get announced as, hailing from the Bahamas. It's University of Arizona. We don't think of him as an international player necessarily. He hasn't yet competed for any sort of, international FIBA stuff with them or any of that. But I think the possibilities are all there. The opportunities all there. And then you see over the summer, he's working out with Buddy Hield and, some guys that are, locals there. And obviously that's really cool. It seems like he's not saying goodbye to that part of his life. And I'm sure that's really fulfilling to him to get to bring that to, those people. Did you ever watch the video that they did at the Undefeated, the first, maybe his rookie season? Mark Spears, the NBA reporter, went and filmed like all this stuff for him. And it was just, these kids just like ate it up.
Right. I did not get a chance to see that. I'm glad you reminded me of that. I'll have to get that onto my watch list.
Yeah, it's just
for him. It really is. It's an opportunity. And you mentioned, Buddy Hield, because Buddy was over there, I think, at the camps with him. Mm-hmm. But it's he's almost like a farmer planting seeds now, and he and Buddy. But because DA went to the finals, and so you get exposure. Yeah. That is not just coming from, Bally Sports Arizona with those fans, watching the games. Now it is on a global platform. And so he gets a chance to plant those seeds and water them, every year that he goes back. And he becomes an ambassador of the game for the Suns and for the NBA and for the Bahamas. So it'll be interesting and exciting to watch the growth over there and to see what they're able to do, to maybe give other young aspiring players opportunities.
Yeah, I have to shout out WNBA MVP candidate Jonquel Jones as well. She is Bahamian, however you say that, and she representing them well. She spent most of the she skipped last season to go be in that community. So whatever they're doing basketball wise, something over there is definitely working. They've gotten some nice young players, and I think it's a cool opportunity if they wanted to kind of, shepherd along the next generation over there. But I'm glad you mentioned Bally, because I have one last question before we get out of here. Are we getting a sideline reporter next year?
Boy, that's way above my pay grade, my friend. I do not make those decisions. The only thing that I would say is, with the fans back and, knock on wood, nothing changes in terms of having the fans back. I'll be surprised but I have no, I have no insight on that position right now. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm hopeful that we do, because it certainly adds a nice element for our broadcast, and more importantly for our viewers.
It does. I hope we do. I know it's, of course, you're not the hiring manager for that type of thing by any means, but I guess the current status is we don't know, and so that's fine. I do want to shout out Lindsay Smith, who did an awesome job previously, and hopefully there's somebody to fill her shoes and give us some more, because it does. It adds some, it adds some taste to things. It makes the broadcast a little more flavorful. So I'm excited to watch you guys. I'm excited for next season. Hopefully fans are chomping at the bit just like we are. We're about 5 weeks away from preseason suddenly, so not too far around the corner. But thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can bring you on again during the season.
I look forward to it. Yeah, I appreciate the invitation, and it's been a great visit.